even though it's January still, I mean, is it too early to say this is a win that you guys have to have?
Oh yeah, it's too early. You're talking about going into the #2 team in the country's home court. So, I mean, it's obviously a big game for us because we're playing another, top team, in not only in our league but in the country, and a team that's so well disciplined and does so many things well that for us to be successful, we're going to have to do the same thing. So just another mark, another opportunity for us to take a big step in getting this thing on the right track.
Your teams here, as well as at Dayton, have had success, obviously, in these types of situations. When you've gone up against these top-tier teams, what does it take, especially going in, like I said, onto their home court?
Well, you need great focus and you need the confidence that what you have planned and the guys' confidence in executing it. And sometimes in these situations, you dial it down a little bit and keep it even a little simpler and say these are the 3 or 4 things that we need to do. And sometimes that helps, especially in an environment like Virginia, because they're not only a great team, but because of their success over the last couple of years, it's become a very difficult place to play. So you have to do what we do. We have to defend a little bit better than we have been, and we have to continue to rebound. And against a team like this, where possessions are so important, you need to have very, very good offensive execution.
You look at their lineup, and they're not a flashy team, but they do everything that's needed to do to get out of any type of situation. And when it comes down to crunch time, they're always the team that seems to come out on top.
Well, 17 times so far this year, The thing that sometimes, that gets overlooked is how good they are offensively. And the reason it gets overlooked is because their numbers in terms of points per game is in 80s and 90s. It's not gaudy, and the reason it's not is because they play a very possession-orientated style where there's less possessions in the game. So what that means is every possession even has more value. So, and they do a good job of valuing every single possession. But offensively, they're explosive. And, it's a 4 or 6 point game, and they go on a 10-0 run. Now it's a 16-point game, and the game's over. And they've done that time and time again, and that's what makes them so good.
How do you maximize your possessions then? They're a team that shoots almost 50%. Like you said, I mean, the points per game average isn't up there. But
right.
They are so efficient. So how do you maximize your possessions and get what you can?
Right. Number one, you can't turn the ball over. You can't have empty possession. For us, we got to get the ball up on the rim because we're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country. So what we need to do is try to break down their defense and get a quality first look, which could lead to some second chance opportunities as well. Now that first look is probably not going to occur early in the shot clock because they're so good defensively. At the same time, we need to get some easy baskets, some transition points, some points on second chance, and maybe some deep post-up opportunities for DeMarco and Chuck before their post-trap comes. Those 3 things are going to be key for us on the offensive end.
Talk throughout the year about each game, maybe a different guy is going to step up and be the leader to get over that little hump that's really not that far away. Do you feel like you need maybe 2 or 3 guys to step up in the same game?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a key for us. Is you got to, obviously you want your go-to guys and so forth, but to get a really good offensive game from 2 or 3 guys would be very, very important for us right now. And then that offensive game that particular team player has needs to be coupled by them also doing well on the defensive end. It doesn't help us if someone gets 15, 16 points and gives up 22 on the other end because of defensive mistakes. And so that's, for us, that's something that we've talked about, we've shown them, and that's something that we need to improve in.
They return familiar players that you're used to playing against, the Brogdons and Justin Anderson, those type of players. Does that make it easier to prepare for them, or?
Well, I mean, you're talking about the #2 team in the country. I'm not sure anything's easy in
right.
preparing for them. Those are really good players. Those are all league caliber players. Starting point guards back, starting 2 guards, starting 4-man, 3-man. Justin Anderson, I think, was 6-man of the year last year in the league. So, and they're deeper than they were last year. They go to the bench and get some, high productivity out of the guys coming off the bench. So they're a little bit different team. but their core system and beliefs are the same.
What can you do to do better on transition to push the pace in a way that takes advantage of getting there?
Yeah, you're obviously that usually starts on the defensive end because
Right.
you always push the ball better off of a defensive rebound or a turnover or deflection, loose ball where we come up with. But it still has to be a point of emphasis for us. I think even on makes, you need to try to get that ball down there fast and get into your offensive action before the defense is completely secure. And that's where Virginia does a good job because they're a good enough offensive rebounding team without committing a lot of guys to the glass.
Mm-hmm.
They usually have 3 guys back because they don't want to give up any transition baskets. But then every once in a while, that 3rd guy will sneak in there like an Anderson and get some offensive rebounds. So you have to the give and take with that is if you defend better, like I said, I think to you we're going to get 6 or 8 more points a game just in some transition plays. Like in the Pittsburgh game on Saturday, we had a big defensive stop late in the game, and Marcus was able to get the throw ahead and a layup. You need 2 or 3 of those a half.
Yeah. Is Travis of the 3 that maybe the best at pushing the pace?
He's definitely done the best job of changing the pace of the game for us. He's a little more aggressive, a little more assertive. Has a again as even though he's a freshman by trade, he went through all the preseason stuff last year, so he's just a little more advanced in understanding the break and the nuances of when to push it, when to throw ahead, and different things like that.
If you look at their stats, Parante's his assist to turnover ratio is off the charts. He's the key to how they play.
He's the engine that makes that, or he's the whatever it is. He's really important. How about that? No, he's good, and he's the key guy in their offense. He creates a lot of different actions for them. The one thing he's improved on is his ability to put the ball in the basket, especially from the 3. So now you got to guard him a little more. When he first came in the league, he's similar to our point guards in the first year. Guys played awful, and he didn't shoot the ball extremely well, and he's worked on that, so that's helped him.
Brian, how important is it to get more production offensively out of the backcourt? And if it is important enough, what can you do to make that happen? You made some roster changes or some lineup changes from time to time, not necessarily for offense, but I mean in general, do you need more offensive production in your backcourt?
Yeah, obviously, we always talk about combining the point guard statistics, but I mean, I think we need some more points. We need some more baskets from those guys, not just the point guards, but who's ever at the off guard spot for us as well. So I think it is important, and there's different times of the game it becomes more important or less important, and I think Chris had a really good offensive game against Notre Dame, so that obviously helped us in that game. So getting some more production from those guys would be key.
Was he a bad matchup last time out? Didn't he just play about 7 minutes?
Yeah, he didn't play as much. It just, we played a lot of the zone, and we went with Q a little more at the 3, which bumped Marcus to the 2 spot. So we were a little bigger in the zone to help us on the glass, and also, offensively in terms of maybe attacking the basket a little more.
Got any ideas how to jumpstart Pollard?
He just got to keep plugging away. I thought he did some good things when he was out there. Made a great pass on a drive. He just, it's been some tough go for him at times, but his attitude has been really good, and we just keep plugging away with him. He's going to keep getting minutes, and hopefully he'll break out of it soon.
Does he think too much on the court? Sometimes we hear with a young player he tries to be too perfect or thinks too much or something.
I don't think that's the case. I don't think he's thinking too much. I think, just he's had some really good looks, and they just haven't fallen. And so sometimes with the younger guys, without any experience to fall back onto, it's difficult.
That stretch in the second half without putting any points on the board, when you go back and look at that, did you see them doing anything differently than they did earlier in the game, as far as execution, maybe hesitating on the shooting, that type of thing?
Well, yeah, a couple of them were just some unforced turnovers. You know, we you know, under the 9-minute mark, we had 4 or 5 really, you know, costly turnovers. Guy just throws the ball to a guy who wasn't looking. You know, tried to force one in there on an action that was going to be open on the next pass instead of that pass. You know, so I thought their defense was good the whole game. So I don't think it was much that they did any different. We just didn't, you know, execute or try to do a little too much on the offensive end. Usually, poor execution comes down to either running the action wrong or trying to force it. And there was a couple times I thought both those occurred.